Alright, so which of the following describes the zeros of the graph of f of x equals 3x to the power of 6 plus 30x to the power of 5 plus 75x to the power of 4? So there's a few things that we want to describe first. So first of all, we want to know what a zero is, okay? So the zero is the solution to the equation, the values of x where that solve the equation f of x equals 0. So the zero, or the solution, or the roots of our polynomial or whatever equation or whatever function, is the values of x that solve the equation f of x equals 0. So if we were to set this f of x to 0, the zeros would be the values of x which that will make this a statement true. Okay, so the other thing that this question covers, which is not in the original question, is multiplicity. So multiplicity just explains how many times a factor, let me explain that. Degree of power of a factor of a polynomial. So the multiplicity is a term that describes the degree of power of a factor of a polynomial. So I'll explain more as we factor this polynomial out and we find its zeros or its factors, okay? Alright, so let's try to factor this, okay? So f of x equals 3x6 plus 30x5 plus 75x to the power of 4. Okay, so the goal of factoring these higher degree polynomials is to factor out common terms until you're able to have a 2-degree polynomial so that you can cross multiply them. So let's see what the common terms are here. Okay, so we know that 3, 30, and 75, so we can factor out 3 here, right? Also, we can factor out x to the power of 4 because all of these have x to the power of 4 or higher. So let's factor that out first. So let's factor out 3x to the power of 4. And what do we get? So factor 3x to the power of 4 out of this, we get x squared. What do we get here? We get 10x. And what do we get here? We get 25. Okay, so now, given our strategy, we have a second-degree polynomial that we can use cross-multiplication to factor. Okay? So if we're using cross-multiplication, I'll just do it on the side here. What are the factors that make up x squared? It's negative x, or x times x. We're going to use x times x. What are the factors that make 25? Well, we have negative 5 and negative 5, or positive 5 times 5. We're going to use 5 times 5. And the rule of thumb is I use 5 times 5 because I recognize that this middle term is positive, so I want positive factors or positive terms when I add them together. So now that we cross multiply together, we get 5x plus 5x, which equals 10x. So now we have our factors, which is x plus 5, or x plus 5 squared. Okay, so now we have found our factors, all right? And inside the factors is our zeros, are the solutions that will make our quadratic equation when f of x equals 0 true. Okay, so let's set f of x to be equal to 0, which equals 3x to the power of 4 plus x times x plus 5 squared. Okay, so what values of x will make f of x equal 0? Well, for one, if x was 0, then 0 times whatever this is 0. So we have one solution is x equals 0. The other solution is if x equals negative 5. If x equals negative 5, this bracket here will equal 0, and 0 times whatever this term is 0. So x equals negative 5, and x equals 0. Cool. So now we have found our zeros. All right. Finally, we want to talk about the multiplicity of these two factors. So for our first solution, for our first zero, which is x equals 0, what's the multiplicity of that? Well, we see that this factor is multiplied 4 times, so its multiplicity, so x equals 0 has multiplicity of 4. We can see that this first factor has the degree of power of 4. Okay? And what about our second solution, x equals -5? We can see that this factor has a degree of power of 2, so x equals -5 has multiplicity of 2. Alright, so that's our solution here. So we're going to pick C. Alright, so the junior tutor has a very detailed solution. They describe what a 0 is. They describe what multiplicity is too. And they also have this correct solution, which is choice C. So this is a good solution. This is a good solution. Nice score. Cool. Alright, finally, let's move on to our last question of the